All right, hey everybody, it's Haywood. So we're talking about the panels for the cockpit, and this is a typical panel sandwich. And so, what you want to do is you want to have an instrument panel with obviously instruments behind glass. Um, Another step would be to add bezels, which you would do with copper wire, just wrapped around something of the correct diameter. You'd wrap it around something like this, and cut it as it formed a circle, and then apply just on the tip of a pin just enough white glue to adhere it around around the instrument face there. Um, you might come after the white glue is dried with a touch of the CYA adhesive again on the head of a pin, and just surround that bezel, that fitting that you made, and surround it and really cement it in place there. Um, those would be painted beforehand. You'd probably use either copper or even brass. You can buy brass line, brass wire, and use that. Paint it, wrap it around something of the right circumference, the right diameter. Cut it and place it around the instruments as a bezel. Anyway, so the way to do that, if you haven't done it before, it's pretty easy. You make a backing piece that's cut to fit the bulkhead, and you would just use the bulkhead itself as a template, right? So you just come in front of it with a piece of cardstock, right? Put the cardstock in, cut to fit, draw the shape of your, just trace along the edge of the bulkhead onto the cardstock, cut it out, make your backer sheet, all right? And then once you have that done, because you already glued instrument faces here to this one, and it lines up because, well, that's the trick. What you're going to do then is you have your backer piece, you have your instrument dials. This is from JTech. JTech makes printed sheets in different scales of all the different types of instruments. World War I aircraft, World War II, even up to modern era. And then there are also for cars and for boats. They include a whole array of instrument faces there. And the tool I use for everything is this. It turns out that a hole punch in this, for the 1-to-1 scale, or 1 inch to 1 foot scale, works out pretty good, as about the right size. So what you would do is take your instrument panel face, which I use 1/64 thickness plywood. It's just a very thin bendy ply. And using a clear straight edge, I draw 2 parallel lines through the back of through the front, actually, the front of the instrument panel that I'm using, and that gives me a location to put the holes for the instruments. That way you keep them in a straight line and roughly evenly spaced and in a correct position. Then you take your backer sheet, you lay your instrument panel on top of it. So you have your blank backer sheet, you have your instrument panel, you line everything up where it would be. Take your pencil and mark the locations for each of those dial faces. All right, that's where we would put each of these dials, which I've done here. And then when you lay your instrument panel onto that cardstock, well, here's one that's complete. You get this. And this would be for the forward cockpit, the trainee, and this is for the pilot instructor. So the panels are a little different for that reason. And I've included the mag switch pedestal here. There's going to be a lever here, just a chrome, something that looks like a rotating lever, such as the magneto switch on a vintage aircraft panel would be. So I'll probably end up putting in a small box on the right side here that is a switch box, you know, the master switch, the battery switch, the generator switch, and all those are typically located along with the fuses and the controls for the radio and whatever lighting the aircraft would have would be in a box with a breaker box next to it here. And then the two throttle quadrant parts, and I'm still producing these. These are going to get throttle and mixture levers onto them, and they'll go on this side within reach of the pilot, and then a control yoke, control stick, and then the panels, and that's pretty much it. You know, seat belts, that kind of thing. Anything that would be right off the top what you would expect to see in an aircraft cockpit of this vintage. So that's how you make the panels. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy process. I did forget to mention that we cut a piece of acetate there for the to simulate the bezels on the glass. You just cut a suitable piece large enough to cover the area where the gauges are, and then that makes it obviously look like the glass is fitted over the instruments themselves. All right. Anyway, so hope that's helpful. Thank you. I do plan to go back and upload a few more videos. Been having some problems with the camera, you know, typical stuff, and I'm still trying to square away, you know, the lighting, the angles here. I want to make sure that the view is righteous. I think I had it placed initially where the camera had the I don't know, it appeared as if your point of view was from sitting across the table on the other side of the table, and everything would be upside down. I want it to appear right side up, and that was just my view. But if you know, if anybody has a suggestion or any kind of a request about anything that, you know, they've seen or maybe not seen me do that I could explain better, let me know. Thanks.